I call myself an internet child. So my friends think that's probably because I spend all of my time looking into my phone. But the truth is, a lot of who I am today and the very little success that I've had so far in my career is primarily thanks to the internet. You see, as a child growing up, I didn't want to be a filmmaker. I wanted to be a pilot. Because for me, the dream of flying looked more realistic than the dream of making a film. This was because filmmaking always looked distant to me. You see, you take any other art form, for example. If you want to be a painter, you can take some paper, you can take some crayons and try your hand at it. If you want to be a singer, you have the shower. If you want to be a dancer, well, play some music and see if you're good at it. But what if you wanted to be a filmmaker? What if you wanted to try and see if you're good at it? You would want lights and equipment and cameras and script and actors and technicians and crew and locations and editing softwares and computers. You would need a lot of equipment, a lot of people, and a lot of technical knowledge. What this meant was that people strayed away from filmmaking. We always thought that filmmaking was distant. Now, I come from a very normal Indian middle-class family. My parents are both bank employees, and let's just say that we don't really go out to watch a lot of films. So I grew up as a child who was not very interested in filmmaking or films to begin with. Then in 2008, my dad finally got his broadband internet connection, 2 Mbps. That is a lot back in the day. A year later, I made my first short film. 2 years from there, I entered the film industry as an assistant director, and 4 years from then, I made my first feature film. So in 6 to 7 years, I went from a kid who had no interest in filmmaking to somebody who's actually made a film. And all of this was thanks to the internet and one person on the internet. His name was Sean Parker. So you might not know who Sean Parker is, but I'm sure you remember Justin Timberlake, the character he played in the movie The Social Network. He was the inventor of this website called Napster, from which you could illegally download. Along with that, he invented one more thing: piracy. So when in 2008, my dad finally got me internet, broadband internet for that matter, I discovered one more thing: torrents. And just like any other 19-year-old, I started downloading all sorts of movies, among other things. And what happened, I spent all my time watching one movie after the other, watching maybe 4 or 5 films a day. And soon, I felt like I'm understanding films. I know what is wrong with this film. I know what is not working here. I know what is working there. And a little bit of knowledge is always very dangerous. So I thought I know enough to give it a shot myself. So I thought, okay, I'm going to make a short film. But here was the problem. I was an engineering student studying in a small engineering college in a very small state in India. So how do I go about making a short film? I didn't know a single person who has made a short film. I didn't know anybody who was working in the film industry. I've never even seen a camera in my real life. So I went back to the one thing that I trusted: the internet. From then on, for the next 1 year, every day that I'm sitting in class, I would always sit in the second last bench because the last bench would be too suspicious. And I would be looking at Wikipedia. On Wikipedia, there is a 400 or 700-page article on filmmaking. It took me an entire semester to read through that. After class, I would come back home, I would go to YouTube, be watching instruction videos on how to make films, how to shoot with a camera, how to direct actors, all the works. And then on the weekends when we didn't have class, I would grab my friends who were not interested, and I would make them act in my short film. Of course, this was a zero-budget work, and I was the one-man crew, and as expected, the first short film that I made was very terrible. But I did put it up on YouTube, and 300 people saw it. So 300 was a lot of people back in the day. So I can just pick up my mobile phone right now, put up a story on Instagram, and 10,000 people will see it. But back in the day, 300 people, I think they will always remain more special to me. So this gave me more courage. I was like, I'm going to make another short film. So I went back into YouTube, I went back into Wikipedia, I read harder, I learned harder, and I made my second short film. The first short film took a year to make, the second one took 6 months to make. Progress. And I put it up on YouTube again. 1,000 people saw it. This was huge to me because I didn't know 1,000 people in real life. So there are people out there who are watching it who I don't know. And then what happened, I was like, okay, I need to get it to more people. More people need to see my work because that's what we artists do. So I didn't know how to get it out there. I again went back to the internet. I found this short film promoting club called the Friends of Cinema based out of Bangalore. Their job was taking short films that they liked and premiering it all across the state, all across the country. They liked what they saw in my short film, and they took it across the country. I went to one such show in Pune. It was a show very similar to this one. I had people in the crowd, and there was a giant screen, and my short film was playing there. And I was sitting right in the middle with all the people. So that was the first time in my life that I saw my work inside with an audience inside a theater, and I was nervous. But as the film started, people started laughing, and at the end of it, when the lights came on, they clapped. Probably because I was a 20-year-old and they didn't want to make me sad, but it mattered. At that point, I knew what it felt like to see your work with an audience on the giant screen. And that moment, I had decided, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. But saying that is easy. The rest of my life is a long way away. So how do I start? How do I get into the film industry? I don't know anybody from the industry. I've never seen a film shoot happen. What do? I go back to the one thing that I know. I go back to the internet. On Facebook, I find every single Malayalam film director that I know, that I can find, and I send them a long message. I attach my 2 short films in that message. I tell them, sir, this is my work. If you like it, please make me your assistant. I will work harder than anybody else. I will work longer than anybody else. Just let me learn from you. 42 messages I sent out. 1 replied. His name was Mr. Vineeth Sreenivasan, and he's a very successful director in Malayalam. And he called me in for an interview. He liked what he saw, and he said, Ganesh, you can be my assistant director. And there started my journey in the film industry. For the next 4 years, I worked in 4 other films, and at the end of it, during which I was writing my own film, and at the end of which I made my first film. So now here I was making my film, and I needed to find crew members. I had a lot of crew members, but I couldn't find one person. I wanted a good art director, a designer. I couldn't find that person, so what do? I go to imdb.com. I look at all the film's artwork that I admire, and I look at the credits, and I find assistant art director credit. And there is one guy who looks like he would like to work in my film. I contact him, and he says yes, and he works with me. Next step, now the film is done. The film is about to release. Now this film was about a bunch of college students going on their very first college tour to Hampi and Goa. Okay? I come from an industry where you need to have stars in your film so that people will come and see you, at least back in the day. But my film had no stars. My film had 18 and 19 acting, and 7 actors who were all acting for the first time. We couldn't create a buzz for the film. So we again went back to the one thing that we knew, the internet. So we decided we will be promoting our film solely on internet and primarily only on Instagram. Because why? While all the other films are getting promoted on Facebook, we chose to stay away from Facebook because as far as kids are concerned, Facebook is an uncool place where your parents are sharing conspiracy theories. You drink this, you die. You touch this, you die. You go there, you get 100 years more of life. All of these things. But Instagram is where the kids are always there. The kids want to hang out on Instagram. We promoted our film for free on Instagram. And before the film released, a week before the film released, all 7 of our actors had close to like 100,000 followers on Instagram, and that was the only promotion we needed. The film opened to, fortunately, houseful shows, and the film was a success both critically and commercially. So where am I going with all of this? See, when I discovered the internet, filmmaking didn't seem distant to me anymore. For me, I started as a person who had no interest in filmmaking. Then I got hooked onto filmmaking through torrents. I made my short films by learning filmmaking on YouTube and Wikipedia. I got my break through Facebook. I found my artist and my crew on IMDb, and I promoted my film through Instagram. For me, filmmaking was closer. So what does all this mean? What it means is that filmmaking was finally democratic. Filmmaking had finally become that one art form that was just like any other art form. Now you have phones that shoot 4K and slow motion. If you wanted to try your hand at filmmaking, just like all the other art forms, you could take a phone and you could give it a shot and try and see if you're good at it. So why does all this matter? Because filmmaking is a very young art form. You take dance and music and singing and dancing and writing. They've been there for millennia. But filmmaking is just 100 years old. It's a very small art form. It's a very young art form. And it's an art form that I love. And art teaches us to love. Art makes us happy. Art heals us. And most importantly, art makes us think. And I believe in our society currently, especially right now, having one more art form that is easily accessible to the public, that anybody can give it a shot, can only make the world a safer, a happier, and a better place. So, internet brought filmmaking closer to me. I wanted to look into yourself. What do you find distant right now? And can the internet, in some way, bring it closer to you? Thank you, guys.